Good morning, dear Stitchers. It's Judy Whitman with GBW Designs, and welcome to my floss tube video. This is video number 73. It is February 15th, Thursday morning, and it has been a long time since I've recorded a video. First of all, I want to tell you, I actually got 10 minutes into my first version of this, and then I touched something and the video goes away. So I've done this before. I should not touch anything on my desktop here while I'm talking to you. So hopefully this one will work. We'll keep our fingers crossed because I had already done quite a bit of it. First of all, I want to thank you for watching. You have so many choices. I want to thank you for subscribing, and especially want to thank you for the wonderful comments that you make after each video. They're just a joy to read, and I feel like I have all these new friends that I have made through FlossTube, even though many of you I have not met in person. So this is a very special video to make for designers because when we do a Needlework market release video, we're really showing all of the things that we've been working on for months. And that is true in my case. I started many of these designs last August, and because our timeline is short for getting them charted, stitched, published, etc. In fact, I'm still struggling with some of those parts, so I'll tell you about that in a minute. I am not going to do my typical video today because I know that sometimes that shop owners watch these release videos, and I know they're short of time. So I know you'll understand. I probably won't do my shop of the week that I usually do. I won't do things from my friends page, all happy mail, all of those kinds of things. I really want to focus today on what are the new releases and how they came about. I think it's interesting to find out kind of the evolution of a design. So I have, let's see, is there anything else I'm missing here, because I forgot how I'm supposed to do this, right? There were many things that happened between that last video and this one, and I meant to do one 2 weeks ago, and I came to the day that I was going to do it, and things started falling apart all around me, and I thought, nope, you have to prioritize things in your life, and it's okay if you don't do a video. So here I am, I'm back again. I want to tell you about my 6 new releases and 1 limited edition kit that I am going to be publishing for the Nashville Needlework Market. And many of you probably know what this is, but I'll give you a quick description. It takes place in 2 weeks, which I will use my favorite term, yikes, because I have so much to do between now and then. But it takes place actually not in Nashville, even though it's called that. It takes place in Franklin, Tennessee, which is a darling, small, charming town south of Nashville. And there are, I've forgotten how many exhibitors. I think there are 140 vendors who will be there. We take up 5 floors of the hotel, and I believe that over 200 shops are registered to attend, which is really quite remarkable. It is crazy, I will tell you that, because we set up our display in the front room of our Embassy Suite rooms, and then, of course, our sleeping arrangements are in the back. We move all the furniture, at least I do. It's quite a process, actually, to set it up. So let me take a quick drink of tea, and then I will get started on all the releases. So, as you know, I love antique samplers, and I have quite a collection that I've accumulated over the years. And excuse me, in the last few years, I've done red samplers, I have done American marking samplers. So this year I decided to go in a different direction. And the first release that I'm going to show you is called a Collection of Petite Samplers. And it is 5 separate samplers. It is going into a booklet that is 5.5 by 8.5, and it is 12 pages, so it's quite long. And it had to be to get all of the charts in and all of the information of the history of the samplers. So I have 4 of the models here. One of the 5th model is actually being reframed. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about each model that I chose to be in this collection. And sometimes it's nice to think about doing something small for our sampler walls. I know not all of you are interested in samplers, so that's fine. There are going to be things hopefully that appeal to you and things that are not on your bucket list, but we're trying to do many things, right? So the first sampler I want to share with you, oh, incidentally, all 5 samplers were done between 1828 and 1894, which is quite remarkable when you think even that last one, how old it is. So this is my stitched reproduction. I bought the antique at a show near us last summer. It was stitched by Emma Dorl, and it's just a simple red sampler. I love the simplicity of it. It was done in 1880. She just did a row of capital letters, a row of numbers, and a row of lowercase letters, and then her name and the date in one little border. But I also love the shape of it. So many samplers are vertical or larger, and sometimes it's nice to have something that is a different size. So that's Emma's sampler. The second one I want to show you in that collection is called the Pastel, what did I call it? Petite Pastel sampler. And this one I absolutely love. This I've reproduced the original. It is an accurate reproduction. What I loved about this are the colors. It has lavender and yellow and pink and aqua. The colors are so unique, and they're so much lighter than most of the and fresher looking than most of the samplers we see. I also love the size, how tiny it was. So that is Petite Pastel sampler. I forgot the book. The booklets are not done yet. I can show you the cover of this and then the back of it, but I forgot to pull out all of the information on what I stitched each of these samplers on. But if it will be in the booklet, and if you need more information, just be sure to ask. This is probably the most interesting sampler of the 5 in my eyes. So there's going to be a glare here from my light. Let's see if I can show it up close. First of all, it's stitched in blue, which is unique. I love that. I love the shade of blue. This was actually owned by Glee Kruger. And if you are a sampler buff, you will know that Glee Kruger was not only a prolific collector of antique samplers, but she also wrote a number of books. She really was considered an expert in the field. And she passed away several years ago, and I found out last fall that her daughter was selling some of the pieces in her collection. And I was able to get this one. It's small, it was affordable, and I loved everything about it. It was stitched by Rebekah Gritman, and she was 12 years old, and she stitched it in 1852. And she too has her letters, her alphabets. I love this. She has A-E-I-O-U in here. She has tiny little hearts down here. And the best thing about it is the quotation on it. And it says, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches." And I just really liked that saying. I just thought it was so sweet. Now, incidentally, the history on this that came with the sampler was just remarkable. Her daughter enclosed the receipt of where she had purchased it, everything they knew of the history of Rebekah. It was just a joy to open that up and find all that information that had already been done. But one thing I need to tell you about this sampler, she did the top part of her sampler over 2, but she did the lower half here, the lower third, over 1 stitch. And not everyone loves to stitch over 1. So I charted it as if it was all done over two. But certainly if that was your cup of tea, to do part of it over two and part over one, you certainly could do that. So it was just a delight to own, and I'm so glad that I have it as part of my collection. All right, there is another sampler that I don't have. Let's see. All right, I'm going to have to show you a portion of it. This is stitched by Hoff, and this is just a portion of her sampler. It's actually not that big. I would say it's maybe 8 by 8, and I own her whole sampler. I actually bought it from a friend. Let's see, when did I get that? This past summer, who had purchased this antique sampler in Ohio. And I decided not to reproduce the whole thing, so I did an adaptation of Eve's sampler. And the thing that I loved about Eve's sampler is, once again, and I don't know if you're going to be able to tell from here, it's worked in just beautiful colors. There are aquas in here, and greens, and peach, and of course all of the elements are so interesting. So that is the fourth sampler in that collection. And then the fifth one is also one I purchased a while ago, and this is Ada Roper, and her sampler was stitched in 1894. And again, I stitched this model over one, but it could be done over two. I just love the simplicity of the small samplers. So I hope you do too, and thank you for your interest in that first booklet that I'll be publishing. The next design that I am going to be releasing, sorry about the noise, is called Fleur de Alphabets. And also, if you watch me for a while, you know that I am enchanted by antique alphabets. And I had an idea for this one. I usually start out with a sketch. I wanted to do an alphabet that was horizontal, because that is different than most that we see, and I wanted each letter to be completely different. So I have quite a large collection of antique sampler French books that have alphabets in them. So before I even started, I pulled out, oh gosh, probably 15 or 20 books, and I would go through and I would mark the alphabets that fell into this category. So I wanted this sampler to be, the letters to be graceful. I wanted them to have leaves and flowers. And so you can see, this doesn't have glass on it, so I could show it up a little closer. I love how it turned out. Now there are just two colors of blue in here. Ironically, it probably looks like there could be more, but I can't wait to see what some of you do if you choose to stitch it, because I think it would be lovely in reds, in pinks, in aquas. So I'm so anxious to see other versions of this design. I do remember that this is stitched on a 36 count antique white linen, and the colors, one was Morning Glory from Classic Colorworks, and the other was a DMC color. So that is Fleur de Alphabets. I'm going to set this down over here, and I might be able to tell you a little more. This booklet is actually going to be, is going to be a trifold. So some of my booklets that are small actually fold in 3 parts, and because this chart is so long, we had to put it in that kind of a layout. So let me tell you, let's see, the stitch count on that is 239 wide by 77 high, and I just love it. I love how it turned out. And that too was an interesting, I went back and looked at my notebook of, so I keep a folder with kind of the evolution of the design. So when I started out, I just chose my first, this is number 1. I try to date them. This was done on the 11th of August, and you can see I've started out with an A, a B, C, a D, and an E, and before you know it, I didn't like the layout of it, so I print it out and I make marks on here of how I want to move all of the letters. The final chart was not finished until the 27th of September, and I can only kind of flash it there so we don't see the chart, but this was version number 19. So that's one of the things that I think probably stitchers are interested in, is how many like parts do you have to work on to get it to the final product or design that you love. And it usually takes quite a few tries. So that's design number 2. The next one is one of, to me, the most interesting, because it's called Flights of Fancy. And the name is, I was reading in my antique magazine one day, and I was trying to come up with a name for this design. And I was struggling because this design was not signed, but it was just so unique. And I had feathered friends and, you know, all these, I was going to make up a name because it did have initials on the sampler. I'm going to show you the antique sampler because it is remarkable. It has the initials LP on it, so I was going to call it Lucia. And then finally I saw the phrase Flights of Fancy, and I thought, oh, I just love that idea, because these birds are very fancy. I mean, they just kind of look like they're very proud of themselves. So I want to set this down and show you the antique. And then I have 2 models of this to show you. This antique came in a frame, and as I say, it was not dated, but I did quite a bit of research on it because it had so many elements to it. I'm going to fold it so that you can first see what enchanted me. So these were the birds in the original sampler. I couldn't believe it when I took it out of the frame. The back, the work, upside down. The work on the back is incredible. It is, I can't even tell where she started and stopped her threads. The workmanship was amazing. Now there were quite a few things in this. I'm going to hold it up so you can see some of the other elements that were quite distinctive. And so I started researching samplers that had several of the, sorry, I'm struggling with this, several of the elements that are in here. This is called a Maltese cross. This rider on a horse is quite unique. And I found 2 samplers that were almost identical to this one. And they were done in Italy, and they were done in the very early 1800s, 1801 to 1805. But isn't that just remarkable? I may take other elements out of this for future designs. There are several borders in here and several butterflies that are quite charming. So let me show you, let's see if I can tell you. This was stitched on a 36 count French vanilla linen from R&R Reproductions, and it was worked in Classic Colorworks and Weeks fibers. I did provide a complete DMC equivalent chart in this design. Because this chart is so large, this is not one of my small books, but it also is one of the books that is going to be, it's actually printed on an 8.5 by, 11 by 17 page, and then it's folded twice, and so the final booklet is 5.5 by 8.5. And then I decided how fun it would be to do a little adaptation. Just take out a small piece of the design. So I took out the little bird with the aqua on it, and that was fun to stitch. I just added the date and a little crown, which was in the sampler, and then I finished this on one of my wooden discs from the Bee Company. And I don't know why I never thought of this before. They can be painted. You don't have to leave them white. For heaven's sakes, why didn't I think of that? So I painted it this beautiful aqua color. I found fabric in my stash that also picked up the aqua tones. I just finished it. If you want more instructions on the finishing, I can do that in another video going forward. I mounted the design itself. You know that I use a comic board, and I put batting underneath that, a very thick felt, and then I used a white rickrack around the edge and just tacked a little bow on the corner, and I just thought that made such a sweet spring design. So that is Flights of Fancy, and that will be coming out at the Nashville Market. So let me set this aside. I'm having trouble figuring out, you can see where to set it so that I don't make lots of noise. Now the next set of designs that I want to tell you about is another collection actually, and this one is going to be called, or is called, My Heart to You is Given. And I came up with this idea quite a while ago. I can't wait to get the booklet. It is going to be this size, but it's going to have a pink spiral binding. How perfect is that for a finish of hearts? And in this collection, I have 7 different heart designs. Now, I know that we're past Valentine's Day, right? But I look at the heart as a universal symbol of love. And I thought there are so many times that you could use, and I'm going to show you all 7 of the designs, that you could use hearts as a gift for somebody. It could be for a birthday gift. It could be just a gift for a friend. It could be for someone who's going through hard times. It could be for a wedding or a baby shower or a wedding gift. An anniversary gift. You could do some of the hearts on scissor fobs. So I'm going to show you, there's quite a few finishes of these 7 heart designs. Some have been released in the past, and some are variations of designs that I had before. So this one is the first one I'll show you, With Love. And this was worked over 1. Of course, it could be worked over 2. I showed this a couple of weeks ago, I believe, in one of my videos. It's one of my favorite designs. It's just such a unique way to fill a heart. And instead of putting With Love at the bottom, you could put someone's initials, you could put a name, you could put a date. So I want you to think about using these designs and personalizing them. This is another one. Look at the finishing on this. It is just gorgeous. So my finisher finished it as a flat, and she put ribbon around the edges and little pearl pins to hold that ribbon in place. I'm sure she glued it and then put the pins in. She backed it with just a beautiful green fabric and put a little bow at the top. This is actually an adaptation of a French country design, and I'm calling this My Heart to You is Given, which is the title of the book. So I changed the design quite a bit. The border is still the same because I loved it. It has 2 shades of green in the border, but in the center I did a heart with little doves and a bow. And again, you could personalize this by extending the design and putting names and dates below. Here is French Country Love, which I've shown before, which is just stitched over 1. It could be done over 2. It's just such a simple design. Again, there would be room to add names and dates. Here is my Love in the Round design. That's going to be in this booklet. So you're getting a lot in one booklet, 7 designs in one booklet. And that I've shown before. It was just finished on a ceramic jar that I bought at Hobby Lobby, and the jar actually has a nice lid on it, so you can mount your design and put this has just little pom-pom trim from Lady Dot Creates. You can use that for your finish, and it fits so nicely on the top of the jar. Another one that I did, which is new, I'm going to show you in a minute, is actually a darling little needle case. And this is Hearts in the Round. And this, I'm going to untie the bow here. Let's see. So that you can see. It's just 2 discs. with ribbon between them, and you could put your needles in there and just tie it. It's so sweet. And then the sixth design was a kit quite a few years ago, and now I've included that in this booklet, and this is called Love Always. Again, there's room for names, etc. at the bottom. And then the final one is the design that's on the cover, and I've forgotten what I called this. You'll find it in the book. I kept changing its names, so it's just a tiny little heart with doves in it. And actually, I think some of these would be darling as Christmas ornaments. I mean, work this in red and it would be so cute. It could be a scissor fob. I just had all kinds of ideas that I included in the book for how you could finish so many of those designs. So you could do a small pillow, you could put them in a frame. So I can't wait to see how you use the little hearts in My Heart to You Is Given. The next pattern that I am releasing is also based on an antique sampler. And this is called Renee's French Alphabet. Now this, all I did was take 3 letters out of the alphabet so that I had a model for the cover of the booklet. And I found this wonderful frame at an antique store nearby, and I just loved it. So you could do initials, you could do, I'm going to show you the antique and talk to you a little bit about where these came from. Why did I love it so much? It's the gracefulness of the alphabet. Just 2 colors, red and green. Actually, the original is stitched in wool. It was just charming to me. You could do a single letter and make it just a little pin keep. You could do a single letter and make it into a pillow to give to a friend, or you could always do, I had this idea, doing all 3 initials and putting it on a project bag. So where did I put this? In my confusing surrounding mess. So this was a very interesting sampler. First of all, it's very large. This is done by, can I get it up here? Renee Duvet. I'm sorry. And I just loved the letters. That was what attracted me to it. It has an interesting border that I may use in the future, and several borders within the piece. So let me set this down. The challenging thing about this reproducing these letters was that, let's see if I can get an example. There were many cases where actually the stitches were completely missing. So I had to use put my designer hat on and try to figure out how to reproduce that letter so that it looked like I thought it would if it had been complete. The interesting thing about this sampler, I think I'm going to need another tea, is because it is French and because it was probably 1800s, guess which letters are missing? The J and the W, which is kind of ironic because I would have stitched the J and the W for myself. So I decided, if I'm going to reproduce this sampler, let's see, this is what the booklet looks like. And this too is, excuse me, a large booklet, that I needed to kind of invent a J and W, and I did that. I added it to the original alphabet at the very base. So if those happen to be your initials, they're not missing, which is good news, isn't it? So think about this as just a project for somebody that you know that might like just a single initial or several stitched, or do it for yourself. The last of the larger designs that I am releasing, which you may already have seen because it's appeared in social media already, is a design that is a follow-up to the Bluebird of Happiness sampler, which is a piece that I taught last year at the Keepsakes Stitchaway Retreat. This is called When Cardinals Appear. And I want to talk to you a little bit about, I know that a cardinal for many people is very symbolic of people you have lost. And I can't tell you how many days I get up and I look out at the bird feeder and we have a cardinal sitting there. And I always think, I wonder whose soul is visiting me. So when this was posted, I can't tell you the number of people who, one gal brought me to tears because she had just lost her mom. And she said, this means so much to me. So this sampler says, when cardinals appear, loved ones are near. And it truly was such a joy to design. First of all, I love the color palette. It goes perfectly in my pink and green office. And I chose, once again, quite a few elements. The border here, the border here, this border here with the berries. This border down here came from antique samplers, which is what I love to do, is to take elements from antique samplers and put them into new pieces. I'm going to set this down for a minute because I want to show you the color palette. It just was so much. Of course, these are colors that I just adore. So it has, can you see here? It has 5 shades of pinks, going from a very deep burgundy to a very, very, very pale pink. It also has, I think, yes. So it also has 4 greens in here. Some of them are very similar to one another. Let's see if I can unwrap this. So there are 4 shades of green, and then there's just 1 shade of brown. Let's see, what was this stitched on? Let me tell you that. It was stitched on a 36 count vanilla bean linen from R&R. It was stitched with 1 thread over, 1 ply of floss over 2 threads of the linen. Of course, in the booklet I will list sizes for over 28, over 32. On Ada, it is just cross stitch. There are no specialty stitches. And I also give DMC equivalents. So I'm so happy with how this turned out, and I'm already thinking ahead to what shall I do next, which is part of what's fun about being a designer, is trying to figure out, all right, where am I going? You know I love to do series. So now just one more thing to show you. Hopefully I haven't gone on too long for you. I have a limited edition kit. And this comes about because they ask the designers, it's not a requirement, if we would like to have something at market that is only available to the shops who attend. And I usually participate in that. And this year, I just love how this turned out. Thank goodness I have fabulous finishers. But this is a little easel finish. And I called it an ode to red because I found this gorgeous red Moda fabric, which had all the colors that I used in the design. I actually bought the fabric before I started stitching this, and I just love how it turned out. In the kit, let me show you what the kit looks like. I packaged it in a little organza bag with a tag. It shows all the kit contents on the back. So in the kit, you get the backing fabric, the DMC floss to do the cording. I can remember to tell you all of this. I packaged the comic board to do all of the assembly of this. I packaged the ribbon that's used on the top and the ribbon that's used on the base. And let's see, is there anything else? There's a little pearl pin to hold the bow in place. And I wrote complete finishing instructions on how to do an easel finish. And you can always watch Vanna Pfeiffer, of course, to see that too. So those will be available at market. They are limited in quantity. I can only make so many. So I'm guessing I'll probably sell out, but I usually do. But we'll see. The key here is if any of the things that I've shown to you are something that you want your shop owner to order, please contact your shop owner, whether it's a brick and mortar or an online store, and let them know. They're trying to figure out before they go to market what to order. And I have to say, I am overwhelmed, as you probably are, by the number of beautiful designs that are being released. I'll tell you what, as I heard Liz Matthews say yesterday, we have so many talented people in our industry, and it makes me a little nervous. I always think, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do. And then I get there and I realize, you know what? Everyone likes different things and it will be fine. But in the meantime, I do worry a lot. So tell your shop owner. If your shop owner, I'm sending out a newsletter hopefully today. If your shop owner does not receive the newsletter, have her write to me or him, and I will be sure to send them a copy. So that is all I have today for the new releases. I want to give you a quick family update. So last time I saw you, my husband was going in for tests the next day, and it turned out to be pretty important thing. He visited his cardiologist for an angiogram, and he ended up having 2 stents put in. So it was a long, long day at the hospital, but he seems to be doing well, thank goodness. But you know that can be very, very worrisome. Let's see, our other happy news is our little great-granddaughter Nevaeh. I got to see her last Thursday at a basketball game, and then Sunday we were all together for the Super Bowl, and I got to see her again. And I want to show you a picture of my husband, my grandson, and little sweet baby Nevaeh. I absolutely love holding this baby. It's been so long since we've had a baby in our life, so it's just a joy. I'm not sure when my next video will be. To be determined. I hope I can do one after I get back from Nashville, but I never know. So I have one other thing I want to show you. And if you'll be patient with me while I move things. I saw on Instagram a couple of weeks ago this piece. I don't know if you can see it. It's a wooden piece. It was just charming. And because it had this round disc in the center, I thought, oh my gosh, that would be perfect for my round designs. It's made by an Etsy company, and I want you to check them out, called Paisley and Polka Dots. And they have quite a few wooden products. I'm going to show you just a part of it, because it has many parts to it. It actually comes in flat and unfinished. So all of the parts that you see in the picture, you're just going to be spray painting and gluing together and assembling. And then it has a wonderful stand. And that's the other thing I like about it, is that, I don't know if you can see it in this picture, it's actually stand up, and it has 4 little ball feet, and 1 in each corner. And then they also send you, she also sent me a couple of discs, which I thought were wonderful, that could be used for my round finishes, or anybody's round finishes for that matter. So I will make sure I include her name in my notes below. So that's all my news for today. It went longer than I thought, but thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to hear what you have to say, to see if you have a favorite. So thank you, people. My dear Stitchers, you're just a blessing to me. Oh, I do have a quotation. I will put that in for today. People who uplift you are the best kind of people. You don't simply keep them, you have to treasure them. And I treasure you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.